Hi, this is Srinivas Tamada, founder of nilesson.info. This video is continuation of Angular routing guides. So last video I explained about how to connect with the Bookma template and to create index and home routes. But this is a continuous process, like how we're going to create a guards and authenticate service to protect your pages once user logs in. uh, you should not, like, once user logs in, we should not show any the login or sign up URLs the same way once. So that's where the routing guard works. Yeah, let's quickly enable the links for these things the same way for even the home has the different menus, so that using router link you can enable these things. Simply you can find the hyperlinks and you can add router link. This is a login, and same thing, and copy paste and change your sign up. You will understand more if you watch my previous video. So here is the route names we are specified, the same way for the home as well. So the same things, I'm going to use it for home as well. So this is the dashboard. So dashboard is a default one, so you don't need to give anything. So just copy this and rename the, so this is a blank, and products, and the settings, and we have a logout link as well, so that will connect with the auth service. So on logout we need to clear it off. If it is a local storage or session storage, we're going to do all the actions here. Let's save. Then if you see this, so if you see, all the links are working right now the same way for the login. Yes, and sign up and login works. And the forgot thing link is coming up here, that I'll explain how to include the router module as well. So now quickly create some services. Before that, I'm going to create two new folders here. One is for services, all your services goes here, and one more folder called guards, so that you can maintain the project properly. So, and I'm using an ng command, ng generate and service. So services folder, and I'm just giving auth. This is all indications will happen here, like login, forgot password, all the actions. Yep, if you see here, the auth service has been created by default. It generates. So I'm going to quickly add a few things here. Basically, we're going to do 3 actions. One is like login. This comes with some post data, and all the login actions will happen here. I mean login API connections. And the same way for the sign up, and sign up also need the post data, because post data comes from the form, and the logout. So this will clear all your cookies and everything, cookies or session or whatever following format you're going to do. And one more, I'm going to create it for guard. It's called is authenticated or not. This function will check uh, is really user is logged in or not. This is returns true or false, so that's why I'm specifying it's a boolean, and return true right now. If it is true, it is like means it's authenticated. If false, basically this returns true or false. So right now setting up to true. We'll see how we're going to use this function and connect with the guards. And now I'm going to create a guards. So the guard is actually we are going to like include it here with the canActive method, so that this index completely you can control with that, so home as well. So there is one more the helpful command. It's you can create a guards as well, or you can create a service as well, but guards, I'm going to create a one more auth guard. This I'm going to check for home, because it's if it is authenticated, this guard will take care. And if you see the auth I mean like guard has been created, it comes with auth guard. And don't confuse, this is actually auth service and this is a guard. And we are not going to use some of these, but we are going to implement in a different way. So yeah, I'm going to create a one more as well, that is for login guard. Basically once user logged in, like we should not show any like sign up or login page. Some people basically ignore it, but if you use this, it will be a proper way to prevent all these things. So one more, this one it check with like or login is checked like is authenticated false and this is true, so that way we're going to control it. So this is auth guard, so I'm not going to use any of these. I'm using canActive method and no RxJS as well. So I'm going to implement canActive in a different way. So I'm changing this into a function, and then it is going to return Boolean value, and this return true. This is actually completely depend on this authentication service, so we're going to import this to call here, so that we need a constructor to import all the things. So I'm going to call the auth service. I'm just going to auth service. It automatically imported here. So now I'm going to use the auth service function here. I'm going to call this. So right now it is true. So basically I want to check for false. Like if it is authentication returns false, then we need to redirect to the login page, because whenever they access dashboard or setting page, we need to forcefully redirect to the login page. Otherwise the canActive method returns the true. So I'm writing a small if condition here, like it's not equal to this dot auth service dot is authenticated. So if this gives false, and then return false, and the same way we need to redirect as well to the login page. So for that we need a router service. So the router has been imported here. So here I'm going to use that this router and navigation to the login page. So if we want to quickly test this, we can test it now. Yeah, now I'm going to connect the auth guard with the home route. So that's called canActive method. It's canActivate, so you can just call the auth guard here. So now this entire route is, and it's actually going through this, and it will call this method and it will see if it is authenticated. It's okay. If it is not authenticated, it's go and it will redirect to the login page. And before like testing it, we need to include everything in the app modules as well. So there is a providers, you have to import the auth service, because we're going to use, we're using these methods, and the same way auth guard as well. Because right now we are not going to implement any login guard, because the default guard is actually coming to the home, so you don't need to import the login guard. The login guard, we're going to change it once this works. So let me run the project now, and if anybody access directly, it redirects to the login page right now because it's not authenticated. Now if it is anybody give like settings, it is redirecting back. Any authenticate pages, it is redirecting here. And if I am just returning this to true, and if you see this, I can go to, I can able to access the pages like dashboard, all these things. So now if you see here, if I go to login, so user able to come to the login page. So yeah, let me change the small spell mistake here. And now we're going to implement the login guard as well. The same way I'm going to use the same concept here as well, but instead there is no not function. And if it is authenticated, like redirect back to the default page. Default page is the dashboard here. So import the auth service. It's got imported, and the same way router as well. So I'm not going to use any of these. So no RxJS. Yeah, the login also login got also ready. So go to the index route, and the same can activate and connect with the login guard. Now auth service is giving true. Yeah, now if you see that, like whenever we access it, let's go to the home page because it's authenticated. If I give the login as well, it's going to the dashboard. Even if you access any index routes like sign up, everything, it goes to the dashboard page. And if I make it like the authenticate service is giving false, and it happen everything reverse. Like if you try to access any default pages like settings, anything, it goes to the login page. So yeah, pretty much the guards has been done. So we can just simply create a small login page, and I'm going to explain how yeah the login works, and we'll set a small sign up page and login page as well. And here some forms are there. We can use that form styles. Instead, like I'm going to make it a little quicker this video. So the same repository I have, so let me use the same code. So now come to the login page. I'm going to modify the login page. So let me close everything. This is a login page, so I'm just replacing with a new code. So this is a small design. I created a form with a login, and if you see the design here, yeah, there is a small two input boxes with a forgot link and login button. If you see this, like it's a simple design format I use from Booma, and this is the email and password, and there is a small space for showing the error, like if user not given anything, and there is a forgot link, and like the login action, we're going to write this as well now. So this is the design, simple HTML design. I'm going to only explain for this form. Sign up, you can do it your own. So first, if you see the forgot link, because this is also one of the route, we need to, is this working or not, we need to see, because it's under the index route. So whenever you work with the forms, like you're going to like bind with the input objects and all. So this login, everything is under the index module. So you have to import all the related things. So for this we need like two things. One is forms module, and import that forms. So import that forms here, and if you see this page now, if you click on this, forgot link is not working because we need a router module as well, because if you see the design, there is a router link is not working. But why it is working for the other things, because it's under the like router module. So here we imported the router module. So the same thing we need to import it for index as well, the same way home as well, because so there are child components. So I'm going to import the router module. Yes, I think this is not pulling up. Maybe I need a special plugin to import the npm modules. So that's Angular router. So the same thing, like anyway we're going to use it, settings, everything. So try to implement the same for home module as well. So let me copy paste these things. Yes, almost done now. And if you see the project now, when I click on the forgot link, it's working because now it understands the router link. Yeah, so now we're going to work with this input binding. So basically you need to create a module. So now let me close everything. Now we're going to work with the login component and the login HTML. So basically first we need to bind these things. So by default I'm creating on small post data object with email model. So that maybe in the next video I'm going to explain to make it shorter, all these things. So you can just bind simply like using ng model. Now I'm referring to this called post data dot email. This is the email, and this is a password. So for the action I'm going to give it's called login action. Now back here I'm going to create a, it's called, by default it is public. So and here I'll get the value. Let me console the log and see this dot post data is coming with the binded values. And yep, now let's see it's binded or not. Whenever I give login, see these two values are printing it here. So this, which means it's binding. And if I am giving empty values and login, it comes with the empty object. Create a small if check dot email is available, and if you want you can check the validations as well. Right now I'm not covering that part. So if the both things are there, then need to go with API action or and session storage, and else we need to show the error binding with error text, and simply I'm defining here like public error text string. So inside the constructor the error text, whenever you load the page it is empty, but if anybody triggers with the empty value we're setting like please give valid data. So let's see that. Now without information I'm just typing, it's coming. Yeah, at the same way whenever I hit it I need to set that back to the empty as well. You can write ng if as well, like making the boolean value here like showing up this field. It's a different ways. And there is a small class called has text danger. It's a boomer, has a lot of features. I use that why that's why I'm getting the red text. So let me delete this and see now. Yeah, coming. If I add something, yeah, it's going off. So that way, now we need to work with the service. So here we're going to call this function. So this function actually is the auth service. So we need to import the auth service as well here. Go to the constructor and import that. Now I'm going to use the auth service login action. I mean the login function like this dot auth service dot login, and sending the post data here. Means this is triggering this one. Because we are not making any API calls, I'm just going to give some response data. Basically this data is returning back the service, just assume that way. So basically this returns with the name, so name and some ID 1 2 3 4, and then some any other information like token to access all other APIs with it's kind of a random number. I explained many ways to create a token. Just read my anyway. I'll just connect all the links in the video description, so you can easily generate these tokens with PHP Slim APIs. So basically, this is coming up once this goes to the HTTP service and all. I'll write that in the next post or next video. I'll explain that. API. So this one we need to store it in the session storage. So that session storage data we can use it everywhere. Using this token, you can contact and access the other APIs. So this information I'm going to use session storage. If you want, you can use local storage if you are using mobile, but session storage is fine for the browser. So this is called set item, and set item need a key and the value. So this key value I'm giving is a user data. So this is a unique key. So based on this, you're going to access whatever wherever you want. And now I'm going to store this as a response data here. Basically, this is a JSON object. It will not store into the session storage. Session storage always uses the stringify format only. So use JSON dot stringify and then store it. Yeah, now the same way you can implement for a sign up as well. Once sign up has been completed and you have to return back with the same response, you can store it in this way. So before that, I forgot to tell one important thing. So basically this is the session storage, and once everything is done, then you have to return it back with the true. So that this component will understand that, hey, this got true and the login action is successful. But now the big problem is we don't know that JavaScript executes continuously, so it will not wait for this, it's really stored or not. So that's what I'm going to change it to the async function. So this is next way of writing promises, and you can just add async and just give await here, async and await. So basically this function convert into asynchronous format, and it will wait for this. Once this completes the action and go to the return, so that way like it will be more control. The same way for logout as well, because in the logout I'm going to clear it off few more things like same session storage, we need to remove it. So again this is await and session storage dot remove item, because the same item when anybody clicks on the logout. And the same way like I'm going to use, if any other session storage as well, there is a clear method is there, you can clear it off everything, then it's going to be true. Now back to the login component. So because anyway this gives the true. So then we need to redirect to the dashboard page. So this one I'm just using into the if statement. So if this gives true, and I'm going to use router dot navigate, and I need to import that router inside the constructor. So I think you have to import that as well here, and then it's called small r. Yeah, it's a default browser action, so it goes to the dashboard now. And now back to here. Now we're going to work on the is authenticated, because right now like we are just flipping between the true and false, but now this actually connects with this user data, and it find out this user is really valid, or I mean really logged in or not. So it's a constant variable like user data. It's called, you can just find out the session storage dot get item, and it's called user data with the same key I'm calling this. And now here actually we are writing the if condition. If it is available, it's return true, else the same return false. Now I'm just checking this user data is present or not, and the same way like you can check the length as well. If it is more than 0, which means this has something, and then it goes to the true. Yeah, and if you see now what happening is, now I'm going to give the login action. If the two values are there, it goes here. If this setting up the value and returning back this, and it become a true, so then it navigates to the dashboard page, because right now it is going to log in because it is coming here and it's giving the false. So let me set the values now with this username and password. So it goes to the dashboard page, which means there is a session data already storing. So the same way when I click on the logout, I need to clear it off the session values as well. And now let me connect with the logout. So this is again back to the home HTML, and there is a logout action here. So I'm writing a click here, and this is logout action. And now go to the home component. There is a constructor and auth service, and the same thing here like logout action. This dot auth service dot logout, and we're triggering this if this returns true, and we need a router as well here, and need to navigate this to in the login. I think login doesn't need the post data, so yep, you see it's actually clearing off and it redirects back to the login page. Let's quickly see this now. And because session storage is there, so that's why it's keep coming here. Now I clear it off. Now if I give the settings, it goes back here. When I sign in, now all the things works. Again it put it back, and if I click logout, it goes back here. And you can write another function to display the names on the dashboard. Like you can write a small function called public and get user data. The same thing again. same key. You can just return this JSON, because we are storing this into a JSON stringify. The same way you have to return it back with the object, so you have to parse that value with this. And same way you can use the async function, you can use await. So once this got the response only, you will get the actual object. So you can call this function, and let's check this in the dashboard. So we're going to print this values here as a name and all. So I'm going to import the auth service again. Now we need to call the get user data inside the ng-on-it lifecycle method. So this is basically we written as a asynchronous function and await. This became a promise. So you cannot call this directly, and you have to use the then method. So this got this dot auth service dot get user data, and then so this returns as a promise. So it's called data, and you can write the fat arrow, and then the response comes here. Now if you see the console log, and the data prints here. Yeah, see, if you see this, the object is printing. So this is a object. I just changed it, I don't know why. So, and now you can assign that value to user data equal to the response data. So now this has the user data. So now you can print this using this user data. Like you can make it as like, so because I'm using the common name, I'm going to change it to user information. So this user information, I'm going to bind it here. This is H1, I'm changing to dashboard, and then I'll come, I'm binding the user date, user information, and the name. The question marks is like, it's like a waiting state, and it'll check the data is present or not, instead of giving the the wrong template error. So that's what I'm just printing it right now. If you want, you can try setting up with a different name with here, like, but before that you have to log out, and you need to reset it back with a different name. For example, I'm setting up Isha Srinivas, it's my daughter name, so let me setting up that one right now. Now the response is coming with a different name. Let me log in and show you. So yep, so it's coming with a different name. Yeah, this way like all the router guards works. So this way you no need to check in every page, like is authenticated or not. Now everything is controlling based on these things. And if you want to create a multiple pages, you can create all these things. I already explained it into the previous video, just check that. Yeah, thank you.